What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Wake up with me. It's your man, Tresvon Pratt with AIM. Always improving the mind. If y'all didn't know, this always has been the hat. The hat has the brand on it as well. But yes, man, it is a great, great time. Thank you all for being here. Whoever is joining, you are always welcome to join me live. Lately, I've been putting the link in the description, but it hasn't been letting me post it. Let me see. Nope, still won't let me post it. But you're always welcome to join me live. You can always send a comment, and I could send it in other forms, other ways, right? If you would like to join the discussion live. This week we have been going steady and learning, deep diving about communication. Man, I didn't even realize there were so many areas to trample, right? It's so many different areas of communication. And therefore, if there's many areas, then there's many ways that communication can falter. There's many ways that this can have a breakdown, right? So what we covered this week, we learned you can't have community without communication because you can't trust who you can't talk to, and you can't build with someone you can't trust. So there's no community, there's no building happening if there's no communication happening, right? Also, we learned listening. Listen to understand, not not listen to respond, right? What is your intention with listening? Uh we learned about empathy within all of that. We didn't really touch on that, but have empathy within all of that. We learned some nonverbal communication, right? Don't make assumptions. And we learned the tonality, right? What pitch you want to use and scaling. Do you just want to be monotone and be boring and wonder why nobody's listening? Or do you want to be more of an attention grabber, right? We learned so much this week, man. Just covering all types of topics, right? All within communication. We learned consistency in communication. A lot of people are consistent with a lot of things, but not with communication. They don't got time for it. I ain't repeating myself and all of that. Consistency in communication. We learned wording, right? How important wording is and how fickle it could be by your word choice, your diction, your vocabulary. What words did you choose to convey the message? And we learned that communication is all of these things working together will effectively deliver the message, right? So what did you intend? What was the message that you wanted to send? How did you send it? It's communication. It's communication. So we learned a lot this week. Y'all learned with me. I appreciate everybody who's been here. And I think we should end this on a high note to learn about not only communication, but what's the root cause in all conflicts. I've narrowed it down, man. I've narrowed it down. What is the root cause in all conflicts? Surprise, surprise. It is miscommunication. I've said it quite a few times over the past month, over the past years. If you've been tuning into any of the FMF podcast lives, I've said it quite a few times. Most mishaps stem from miscommunication. And I knew this, right? But then I actually paid attention to it a little further. And I realized that no, seriously, most mishaps stem from miscommunication. If you look at any issue, right? You look at breakups. Breakups the number one. Most people are here. Most people that come to me for mindset, we want to get our mind right because we want to be a better person, but a better person for our person or to attract the right person, right? We want connectivity. We want to be able to communicate. We want to be able to be free and without judgment. We want to be able to connect with people. We want to be able to build a community. We want to be understood. We want these things, right? But don't know how to go about getting it. And throughout life, we'll just be like, mm, it ain't working for me. It ain't working for me. But that's not the issue, right? That's not the issue. It can work for you. You just got to put the work in. It's for you. It's for all of you. It's for all of us. All of us are meant, we're human. We are meant to be able to share our emotions. We are meant to be accepted, loved, appreciated, acknowledged, right? Understood. We are meant to build with one another, be with one another. We are meant to interact. We are not meant to be antisocial. We are not antisocial beings. Antisocialness is it stems from a fear. To be anti anything, you're against, you're thinking about why not, right? So when you're antisocial, you're thinking about all of the negative possibilities within communication, within being social that can happen. And we already expressed that that's a never ending loop. You can always find something else that can go wrong instead of focusing on the one thing that you want to go right. So it's a literal thing. Most mishaps stem from miscommunication. Going back to breakups, I think all breakups stem from miscommunication. Somebody didn't say what needed to be said. Somebody took that nonverbal communication, what the implication was. Somebody made an assumption and reacted off of it. You know, somebody went against somebody's boundaries. Somebody, now it's disrespect, and I can't tolerate that. Somebody miscommunicated along the way, and that miscommunication went misunderstood. And that misunderstanding, if you're with someone and they don't understand you, you feel like, why should I be with this person? Now I'm on toes. Now I'm on edge, right? Now I don't feel accepted, understood, acknowledged, appreciated, loved, so forth, so on. And why should I stay if I don't get that from this person? Where did that come from? Miscommunication. It's not a mystery anymore. I solved that riddle. Most mishaps stem from miscommunication. The breakup came from a breakdown in the communication. Right? You are now misunderstood. And I know people that, well, I said, yeah. You saying it wasn't the miscommunication. Listening is part of communication. You can hear all day, but you didn't listen. Hmm? There's a miscommunication happening. So I looked at, like, that's one of the main things is breakups, divorce. Stems from miscommunication. Crime. Crime happens from miscommunication. It's at the root of it, right? Because miscommunication leads to misunderstanding. When you misunderstood, you react. Hmm? If you're misunderstood and you don't have the resources to back what is needed, you're gonna do what you feel like you need to do. If you're acting out in the violence, all of this violence, all of these fights, I've seen so many fights that stem from miscommunication. I've been in them. I've caused them, right? What you say? Because you think you can say that to me? What's up? Huh? There's a miscommunication going on where a lot of times, put the ego, put the pride aside, and it's like, bro, nah, that's not what I meant. That's not what I meant. If you still up and you already at that level, you want to take it there. What I like to do, which I don't believe we can do anymore, but this is what I was raised on. We could duke it out and dap it up. A lot of times with the guys, with me, the ones that I had to fight become best friends. We done already took it there. What's the next thing? We gonna keep on fighting? Nah, I'm gonna talk to you now. The fight is over and done with, regardless of who won. We both got that energy out the way. Now, this is what I really meant. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, well, you could have just said that. Well, we had to tussle. We had to get that out. Like, okay, that's cool. That was my generation. That's how I was raised. We didn't have a problem with fighting. I'm not condoning fighting, but I used to be able to duke it out and dap it up with the fellas. Now it's too much pride. Nobody can take a L. Everybody want to go retaliate to the highest extent, which is what stem from miscommunication. You feel misunderstood. You feel publicly shamed. Somebody attacked your identity. You want to protect yourself in some type of form. Even if you did have to retaliate, it didn't have to go to that extent, right? It didn't have to go to that extent. Most mishaps stem from miscommunication. Look at, I said breakups, you got crime, you got abuse. Somebody that's verbally and emotionally abusive or abused, right? Obvious miscommunication, right? Most of the time. And even if that person, even if the abuser is doing this intentionally, right? They're still using communication as a weapon now. That's miscommunication. That's not what you're supposed to be using communication for. We're supposed to be using communication for connectivity, coming together, uplifting, right? Understanding, right? Not to belittle, not to shame, not to guilt, not to hold somebody else down, not to mess with somebody's mind. We're not here for the trickery. We don't want the fuck shit. I tried to avoid saying that, but I felt that. Right? So you look at all of that, like even wars. I'm pretty sure everybody has tried this in their school setting, hopefully, like in the English class, how messages can get misconstrued, right? Miscommunication. The exercise would be the class would stand in a circle, right? The teacher would start off and whisper a message to one, and everybody has to whisper that message to the next person until it gets back to the teacher. And by the time it gets back to the person that sent the message, it's a completely different message. Miscommunication. Everybody don't perceive the same way. Everybody don't hear the same way. Everybody don't understand the same way. You can listen to understand, but what you understand is based off of your perception. A lot of times to understand someone, we have to learn. Who is really willing and open to learn at any given moment? I try to be, but I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. That's why I don't read self-help books when I get off of work. I'm tired. I don't feel like learning. I read them first thing in the morning because I'm fresh, I'm ready, I'm open to learning. So if there's a problem arising or somebody is like got a certain tonality with me and talking at me instead of to me, now I'm trying to understand, but I don't really want to because I have to learn what the problem is. I don't feel like learning right now. Maybe we'll have this conversation another time. Oh, we can't? Okay. Now I can turn on that switch. Let me listen to understand, meaning I might have to learn where you're coming from. I have to learn what's really bothering you. I have to learn what's really driving you. I have to understand why you're even coming at me or talking to me. I have to learn this in order to understand it. And a lot of us aren't willing to learn. Hello? A lot of us aren't willing to learn. It's usually a breakdown in the communication. Most mishaps stem from miscommunication. So you think about that exercise where one person sends a message, it goes through all these other people, and by the time it gets back, it's a completely different message. Why are we fighting wars? You got this, you know, head of whatever, whether it's king, dictator, ruler, president, whatever. You got this person sends this message, or something happens, and it's like, really, the communication is, we don't want a problem. From all of the wars that I know about that happen, it's usually like, we don't want a problem, but don't cross into this territory. Don't bring that over here, because then I'm gonna defend my people. It's not a threat, just communicating, saying, hey, don't mess with me. But by the time the message gets to whoever else, it's usually in retort of like, oh, so you think you can mess with me? Oh, okay, you got stuff that we want too. Like, oh, now we bumping heads. Most mishaps stem from miscommunication. That's a large scale because we're talking about countries, killing each other over a miscommunication, bro. Like, seriously, there's been wars fought over miscommunication. There's no you can't debate that with me. I know there's many more factors and all of that stuff, but most mishaps stem from miscommunication, right? Gang violence. There's always miscommunication. I've been around it enough to know, right? I've experienced it myself. I haven't been in a gang, but I've been with gang members, or affiliated gang members. And like, I'm just looking at them as the person that they are, not the color that they're wearing, not the clique that they're with, not the area that they're in. No, we just go to the school, like, you're a cool person. And I'm walking with this person, and because that person has an imposing, how did it become opposition? An opposing color, an opposing set, right? An opposing territory. You from that side of town, I'm from this side. We gotta fight. Why? Most mishaps stem from miscommunication. What actually happened is whoever was from this side had some type of miscommunication with whoever was from this side, right? And then it set the tone. We don't mess with them because of whatever they say, whatever they did. The miscommunication has set the tone. Now it's just normalized that, you know what? We just don't mess with that side. That's the start of it. Most mishaps stem from miscommunication. I've experienced that where it's like I know both people, both sides. Both of y'all are people. Both of y'all have families. Both of y'all love. Both of y'all love the community. Both of y'all have the same driven principles. Both of y'all want better for your people. Both of y'all love and protect. Both of y'all have no real reason to be at each other's throats other than what is depicted to be normalized because of a breakdown in communication, an expectation. I told you I try to live by the mantra of expect nothing, accept everything. It's not easy, but the expectation is what caused the miscommunication, right? The expectation is because I know you're from that side, whatever symbol, tattoo, color, type of clothing, whatever, whatever it is that symbolized that you were from whatever gang, whatever clique, whatever territory, right? Whatever symbolized that the communication is, I'm the opposite, you're the opposition. I literally have been like walking with someone and they see someone from a different side and we laughing and talking and that person is just like, so what's up? It's like nothing. Like, what's up with you? Like, what happened? Like, there was nothing there besides the fact that you saw this person. What resonated in your brain? What has been taught to you is that what has been communicated to you is that as soon as you see, it's Tom and Jerry, it's on site. As soon as you see someone of opposition, of considered opposition, then attack. When really it's all miscommunication. Really, it don't even have to be like that. A lot of people who are in that type of realm, right? And I'm talking about all across the board. I'm talking about, blood versus Crip, black versus white, Democrat versus Republican, all of the verses, right? I'm talking about all of that. Usually it's like on site, automatic disagreement. When really, if you were to attempt to communicate, you'll realize that y'all have way more similarities, way more in common, common goals, right? Common ideals, right? Everybody wants actual peace, right? Everybody wants to be able to, we want to be able to chill. You don't want to be on edge just because, you know, this person is here. Like, that is disruptive. I can't go to the store on that side of town because of the possibility that, those type of people are gonna be there. And I'm like, "Dang, now we're categorizing. Now we're categorizing." And it's like, "Yo, I know those people and they're not bad. They're just defending and you are too. So how about how about we try to communicate, try to understand, right? Most mishaps stem from miscommunication. Someone, I told y'all, the human need is to be understood. Someone is misunderstood. Miscommunication leads to misunderstanding. If you expect to be misunderstood, you won't communicate. Guess what else? No communication is miscommunication. If you just leaving it up to someone to go off of what they think that you think, none of us are readers. So it's not going to work. You might get it right some of the time. But I just told you that we are not to be assuming. Don't make assumptions. Instead of assuming, ask. If you don't know, then ask. And the tone in which you ask can cause the conflict. Now, I told y'all, all of these things put together effectively conveys the message. So going back to that setting where you have two opposing forces going to walk past each other, and it's like, yo, you got a problem? Instead of what's up? Even what's up has a certain tonality. Whereas I said it earlier, I fight. You know, I used to be able to duke it out and dap it up. And it's like, what's up? What's up with a certain tonality? It's like, you know what's going down. You know what I mean. We can take it there, right? But if you was to choose a different word, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? Usually doesn't get misconstrued. But it sounds soft, it sounds weak, so we don't use it. If you change the tonality on what's up, you say, hey, what's up, man? That's not threatening. What's up? That's threatening. That's I'm ready to take it there. Right? Most mishaps stem from miscommunication. And learning about communication will realize this, right? And you'll learn that communication, a daily practice in communicating, improving your communication skills is for you. A lot of us don't want to do this. A lot of us don't want to attempt to learn to listen because we want other people to listen better. It don't work that way. You just want to be heard. Again, you just want to be understood. I understand. But whatever it is that you think other people need to improve on, what you think the world needs to be a better place, you have to implement. You have to put it forward. It's on you. So if you want better communication in your life, if you want people to listen better, if you wish people approached you differently, if you want people to talk to you in a certain manner, if you want people to come to you correctly, right? Then you yourself have to do all of those things. Your life is a reflection of your exterior is a reflection of your interior. That's why your appearance matters. That's communication. That's nonverbal communication. It's your appearance. If you show up, shirt not tucked, right? You're not clean, you're not neat, you're shabby, hair is a mess, hygiene ain't there, still got drool on your face, right? You're wrinkled, stained, you're not put together. That does not command respect. That actually provides some bit of a concern. You just communicated that I am not well. I am not here. I'm going through something by presenting yourself this way. Your appearance is non-verbal communication, right? When you learn these types of things, bro, you start to work on these types of things. And before you know it, these types of things, when you improve on it for yourself, they improve on it all across the board, all around you. So if you want less conflict, because life be life, and you're not going to just get away from conflict. But if you want less conflict, hmm, and you want better communication, you want to be understood, you want to be heard, you want to be listened to, You wanna be someone that people want to talk to. You wanna be someone that people want to approach. Come on, man. Nonverbal communication, the resting bitch face. Who wants to wake a resting bitch? Who wants to wake a resting bitch? No, we're gonna leave that bitch alone. Excuse all of the language, but I'm just being blunt and honest. As I said, I can be with my word choice. And I'm being blunt and honest. Who wants to wake one? So, yes, a nonverbal communication. Why aren't you getting approached as much? Maybe you need to relax the rest and be face, right? Maybe you need to signal that you're open for conversation. Do you know how to do that? That's another thing that we'll talk about. People want to talk. I learned this. I know this. People want to talk. But the reason people don't talk is because they automatically assume after enough experience, after enough rejection, after enough misunderstanding, they assume that they will be misunderstood. So they don't even attempt. And after not communicating for a good whatever the amount of time is for them, it sets in their mind that this is now reality. People don't want to talk to me. You know what? I don't want to talk to people. And now we're antisocial. Now we're antisocial. I always go back to the root. I always go to the start. As a baby, you couldn't even talk, but you making goo goo gaga noises and expressions and you if you get excited about something, you yeah, right? Babies screaming from the top of their lungs in excitement. They got all the hope, all the joy, all the communication. Can't wait to learn words so that I could talk, right? They do this. And we were all babies once, right? And this is our instinct. This is our nature. You have become antisocial because of your experience and your expectation. The experience set the expectation. So now you expect, why are we socially awkward? We expect people to misunderstand. We expect the miscommunication. We don't want to work on improving our communication. We just want to assume that everybody else is bad at conveying the message. Well, maybe you just didn't understand. Maybe it's that. But now you isolate yourself. Now you can't stand people. You can't stand talking to people. People aren't that interesting. People aren't that funny. People aren't even people anymore. I don't want to be around them. Where did that come from? Miscommunication. There was a miscommunication at some point. There was a misunderstanding. You took it to heart. You felt it, rightfully so, and it affected you. You don't want to be affected like that anymore. I understand. I understand. If I could show you how many scars I had on my heart, hmm, but I'm proud to have gained those scars because it shows me how far I've come. It shows me how much I've learned and still learning, and I'm excited about it. So I continuously put forth the effort. This is why I know so much about communication. I know more than I thought I knew and still learning, always improving, right? Communication. Communication to many is scary. You know, one of the top fears in the world amongst all people is public speaking, talking in public, talking to a group of people. Communication can be scary if you allow it to be, if you perceive it that way. Anything could be scary because you're looking at the totality of everything so much that you don't understand yourself. Whereas if you are willing to learn, where if you are willing to learn, let's see, because TD in the comments, what's up, TD? He says, humans are social creatures. It is unnatural to be antisocial. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Says, it is the pinnacle of our incarceration system, solitary confinement, to be by yourself. You know, they even did a experiment where, my man, they even did an experiment where once they started creating soundproofing, right? Once they started creating soundproofing, they had made a room that was so soundproof that you can hear, like, after a few, I think it's like 2 or 3 minutes in this room by yourself, you can actually hear your blood moving, like your blood flow. You can hear it because it's so soundproof. And like they said, I think they said nobody lasted over 10 minutes in this room. To be by yourself, right? It goes against what we are created for. Now, at the same time, love yourself, give yourself time, yes. But then we're gonna talk about this on another episode, another live. Uh, within that self time, how do you talk to yourself? It's still communication. We miscommunicate with ourselves and then project it outwardly. So a lot of the misunderstanding, we don't understand ourselves. So how can we understand somebody else? If you don't give to yourself, you're not going to be able to receive. He said, I guess you could say death is the pinnacle, but you know what I mean. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. But I think complete isolation uh, in a long, complete isolation in an elongated amount of time is death. You start to dwindle away. You start to dwindle away, right? Complete isolation can drive you crazy, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm gonna keep on because I know too many people who are introverted, antisocial, who and it's funny because my big old extroverted self, I get alongside these people and they become like best friends, you know, love, love, love. And I see them for who they are. So they are free to be themselves. So we have a easy connection. That's what connectivity is when you're free to when two parties are free to be themselves without judgment. That's where the connections happen, right? So we have connectivity in different areas. Like people, like if you have the gaming community, people are free to be themselves and talk as much about gaming to other gamers, right? There's not much judgment. Even if there's disagreements, it's still fun. You got the sports community where, most people who watch the sports, they all it's usually disagreements if it's not the same team, but they all come together to be able to talk about this one thing. They have a connection there, They're connected by this. You have trauma bonds. I don't really associate those connections, but it's a connection. So the connectivity is awesome. Where I was going with that, but it's still like if you're away too long, right, you start to lose a sense of reality. Like you start to lose that human aspect about you. You're not meant to be in isolation forever. And if you're in isolation as a default, as a reaction, you're going in isolation to heal. I get it. But how do you know that you've healed until you go back out? I do too. Says I have come to doubt the introvert extrovert paradigm. I do too, because it's just like masculine and feminine to me. Everybody has both sides. Everybody has all of this within them, right? You could be a self-labeled introvert and still do extroverted stuff. I know my homeboy Paul, man, he claims himself as an introvert, and everybody that meets him is like, I don't see it. Like he's one of the, and he says I sparked it. I don't know if I might have, but he talks to more people than me sometimes. Sometimes. But he talks, man. He'll have no problem with approaching somebody, complimenting somebody, talking to them. And I'm like, introverts lean into the antisocial realm, right? So you don't do that. You're willing, right? You go out for those who you rock with. Now he'll talk to a lot of people, but there's not a lot of people in his circle. So I get that, right? But I think that's just a normal thing. Like everybody's not going to connect on a certain level. But he labels himself as an introvert. He'd rather be by himself. He'd rather be in isolation. And every now and then it'd be me who's like, "Yeah, come out, come outside." But when you see him, I mean, hey, he's liable to he's liable to crash out. He's been in more fights than a lot of people. I think that's more of an extroverted thing, is you're willing to express, you're willing to go there, you're willing to deal with something publicly, right? You stand on your ground and verbally say what's needed to be said, even if this conflict can arise. I don't know, man. Seems a little extroverted to me. He has high energy. He's very expressive. All of those things you find in the extrovert, I find in this introvert too. So yeah, I doubt the whole introvert extrovert, but people like to. I touched on that a few videos back. People like to subject themselves to the labels and the labeling, so it brings comfort to say, "Hey, because I don't always want to talk to people, I'm antisocial. Because I have shyness, I'm an introvert." Right? Like I'm considered extrovert to a lot of people, and I still be bashful when I tell people I get nervous, I get shy. They be like, "You? Nah." And I'm like, "Yeah, me." Yes, me too. It's a normal thing. It's just my response. When I get nervous, I know that means it's time for action. I know nervous and excitement share the same hormone, so I don't tell myself I'm nervous, I'm excited. Let's see. As I understand, introvert, extrovert is where you gather energy. Do you get energy from people, or do you have to rest and gather energy away from people? That's why I'm like, I don't subscribe to it, because both. A lot of my energy, I know I'm very expressive, and I could talk about me. I know I'm very expressive and I'm very energetic, like super energetic. A lot of people can't handle my amount of energy. I can't a lot of times. I'd be like, yo, you need to chill. Like, am I lonely? I'd be like, yo, you need to chill. I'm bouncing off of the walls and stuff. Music super high. Like, so I'm a high energy person anyway. But I definitely get energy from other people, right? Do you get energy from people or do you have to rest and gather energy away from people? Both. Cause like I said, I need my isolation too. I need my self time. I'm big on communication, right? I promote communication. I become a source of communication for a lot of people. So you could imagine how much communicating I have to do. I want to do, I get to do, right? And sometimes I'm like, okay, like I said, I got boundaries. If you reach out to me through a text or if you reach out to me electronically, I more than likely will respond late because I'll be like, I'll get to that and never do for that day. And it'll fall into, the time frame for the next day. So I also have to rest and gather energy away from people as well as, you know, getting energy from people and being one who gives a lot of energy. I know a lot of people feed off of my energy. I got a lot to give. It's cool. So I don't really know the whole introvert extrovert paradigm. I don't really subscribe to it. I accept those who consider themselves either one. I accept those who consider themselves either introvert, extrovert, social, antisocial, all of that, right? And how you view yourself, especially if I'm coaching you or, just assisting you, how you view yourself, I accept. And then whatever is the result that you want, do you want to socialize? Yeah, but I'm just antisocial. Okay, we can work on that, right? Do you want to be extroverted? We can work on that, right? Do you want a different result? We can work on that. Do you want to learn how? Because me, I had to learn how to go inside because I felt like this is my purpose, this is my calling. So communication, I should be communicating at all times. It should always energize me if it's my purpose. Still need you. Still need to be with me. That's right. The label doesn't matter. The label doesn't matter. Say it louder, man. The label doesn't matter. We create these labels to be able to find comfort in the discomfort. We can find acceptance with that. That's why I don't label myself depressed because once somebody subjects to that labeling, then they succumb to it. So I don't label myself depressed. I could say I'm going through a depressive moment. I'm having a depressive spell, but that's not where I'm going to stay. And I know that. So I don't label myself depressed. Or else I'll always be that label until I decide to change it. And it's rare that someone who truly believes they're depressed will work on getting out of it. That's why mindset, man, wording, communication with self is important. I think we might continue this communication series. It's so much more to go into communication. Like I wrote a list and like it's only 7 days in the week. And when I started this, I already had 2 weeks worth of topics of areas of discussion within communication. And I've been adding to it consistently. So I'm like, man, this can easily flow into next month. But I'm trying to decide, like, are we only going to talk about communication, or we're going to talk about the other areas of mindset, improving the mindset? Y'all let me know in the comments. Y'all let me know on social media. Aim always improving the mind in everything, right? Facebook, Instagram, all of that. Of course, YouTube. YouTube is home. Um, y'all let me know if y'all would like to continue the communication series, right? Or y'all want to tap on other areas of mindset. I just spoke on depression, anxiety, you know. I spoke on being unique, right? Liking what you like, self control. We can talk about anything. We can talk about anything. Discipline. Is it too much? When is it too much? Right? We could talk more about consistency. I mean, we could talk about so much, man. There's so much to learn, so much to converse. Let's talk about it. Let's have a discussion. Let's speak on the unspoken, because what's understood need not be said, but it's a lot of misunderstanding. It seems like it needs to be talked about. And that's what we're here for. Always improving the mind. If you're working on yourself, what I learned about happiness comes from actively working towards something. Now, I know that that's a turnoff, right? Because you don't always want to work. Well, that's something that you can work towards. If you're working towards having more time to self, having more time to do nothing, and we covered that you don't actually do nothing, even sitting down is an action, right? Watching TV, flicking through something, mindfulness. If you're just sitting in silence, you're still doing something. But I get it, the blanket term of doing nothing that is seemingly of necessity, that's doing nothing. Okay. That's still something that you're working towards. So when you actually get the time to do the nothing that you want to do, it's an achievement. It makes you happy. Continue doing that. Continue making that happen, and and boosting and contributing to the other areas of life as well. That's where the happiness resides in, the work. Ain't that crazy? That is crazy. That's where the happiness resides at. So I love to end on a powerful note, man. This week we talked about communication. We talked about you can't have community without communication. We talked about the biggest issue in communication. The most common one is listening, right? We talked about some areas of nonverbal communication as far as gestures, hand movements, body language, facial expressions, right? There's more areas. We talked about the tonality. It's not what you said, but how you said it that conveyed the right message or wrong message. We talked about word choice. Yes, your wording matters. The words you chose to say. It could be one word out that whole sentence that triggers you. I remember I was working with someone, right? And I wasn't in the leadership role yet, but I was obviously the leader, right? In this environment. And it was a young lady in a male dominated environment, and she latched on to my leadership, and we had to work in teams. So this was my team. This was my teammate. She was talking to somebody else. I was patient as she was talking with somebody else because we was ahead of schedule. So, go ahead. And I went to talk to somebody else and she got impatient with me. She's like, I mean, you over there talking, I'm ready to work. Like, I was too, but I didn't say anything. And it's about to be a back and forth. But I said, nah. Before we do all that, I said, come on, let's just go ahead and get to work. Me doing this was a trigger for her. She said, I'm not a dog. You don't do that to me. And she spazzed out like she was ready to clock out. And I was like, what did I do? I didn't know that, this was, I don't do this to dogs. I'm a whistle. I'm come here, like I don't do this, but apparently that was a trigger for her. Everybody has their own triggers. You don't know what somebody else has been through, right? So your nonverbal cues, your gestures, your wording, especially, right? In some places, it's overly acceptable. It's only acceptable if you're cursing, right? In other places, it's completely unacceptable if you're cursing, right? But it depends on the area. It depends on your upbringing. It depends on what you learn to be normal. It depends on the person. And you don't know until you talk to the person. And hopefully they will communicate what's right and wrong for them so that you know how to communicate with them. Same goes for you. You set the tone for the conversation. You let people know what's acceptable and what you would tolerate, verbally or non-verbally. It's on you to communicate. It is on you to communicate. We talked about consistency in communication. They might not get that message the first time. You might have to tell them several times that I don't like that. Don't do that. I said I don't like that. Don't do that. Okay, now you're doing it. I've told you several times. So end of conversation. Oh, I don't want the conversation to end. Okay, well, I don't like that. Don't do that. Right? If you don't want the conversation to end, we can have the conversation, but respect my boundaries. You got to be willing to set the boundary, and that comes with consistency, right? And now we're learning that most mishaps stem from miscommunication. And truth be told, after explaining all of that, with my scenario, you say you've been there, right? After explaining all of that, we should be able to see how easy it is to miscommunicate. It is very easy for miscommunication to occur. Wonder why it happens so often. It takes patience, discipline, consistency, and willingness to effectively communicate. It takes those things to succeed in any area. If you have those about you, you can succeed in anything you do. You also need it about you for communication. I know too many people who are successful, whatever that looks like to them. They've accomplished some type of goal, they've acquired some type of status, right? They got some type of role, they've achieved something. And I'm like, okay, if you did it in one area, take the same principles, the same rules apply. You know how to succeed. Do this in other areas. But for some reason, with communication, I don't know if it's emotion, I don't know if it's ego, I don't know if it's all of the above. But when it comes to communication, a lot of us just aren't willing to actually put forth the effort that it takes to communicate to communicate effectively. We worried about the image. We worried about how we sound, how we look. We worried about how somebody else is going to perceive it. We're worried. And with that worry, it's in a fear based. You're in a fear based mentality about communication. So you're like, you know what? Default. I just don't even try. Ain't no need. Let me find an extrovert who doesn't mind, being the one to make the call, being the one to start the conversation, being the one to ask the questions, right? Let me find somebody else who's willing to do it. Because we all willing to talk. Everybody I know, man, all these extroverts I'm around, they kind of latch towards me. You said, I'm not sure. I think skill said, I don't, he said, I think skill don't always convey from one goal to the next. Enlighten me, sir. Enlighten me. And while you do so, I'll continue. But that's why so many introverts have become like friends with me. It's because they know that if need be, I'd be the one to break the ice, ask the question, approach the person. I'd be the one to make the call. No, you good, man. Wording. You're all good. But I usually will be the one to do the thing that most people don't want to, and that's communicate. I've gotten tired, right, of being the one like you. I see that you have an issue with me, and I got to ask you what's wrong. You're giving me all of the cues that you have an issue with me, but I got to ask you what's wrong. But if I don't, then the question never gets asked, the conflict never gets resolved, and now you're holding a grudge. Now you're thinking about separation because it's so easy to isolate. It's so easy to cut off people. People are so willing to just cut off people, burn the bridges, right? And I'm like, for what? A disagreement? Do they even know that you disagree? Like, we're not going to agree all the time. That's another thing that I want to put out there is you won't understand or be understood every time. Accept that. It's not going to be a all the time thing that you are able to be understood. That's why consistency is important. Maybe this person doesn't understand you right now, but after you said it, after you stood on that, after you acted out and stood behind your intentions and kept that, it was consistent, then people start to understand. People start to accept you for who you are after you stand on it enough times. Even if it seems in a negative sense, like, don't even bring that over. He not gonna do that. He not gonna do it, right? Even if it seems to be in a negative sense, you still know where I stand. You've learned my perspective. Effective communication. So within all of this week, all of the areas that we've been able to tackle this week within communication, it's been awesome. I thank everybody for being here. Um, but use all of these things together: listening, communicating with a purpose, having empathy, nonverbal cues and facial expressions and gestures, tonality, your vocal tone, right? Your word choice, consistency, and now learning that most mishaps stem from miscommunication. Put all of that together and continue to practice at it. I promise you, you have no choice but to improve. You have no choice but to improve, right? And there's so many more. I want y'all to put it in the chat, put it in the comments, reach out to me on all the social media sites. Reach out, put it out there, what it is that you want to learn, if you want to continue on this communication path, because there's so much more to unravel in that realm of communication. If you want to continue in that realm, then we can for next week, right? Y'all let me know. And it's just been amazing, bro. I have loved everything that has surfaced, and I'm looking forward to the next few lives myself. So, hey, go to the social media sites. I'm gonna put the question up. I'm gonna put the poll out. Y'all let me know. So we'll be ready for tomorrow. And to respond to TD, when you say I'm not sure, I think skill doesn't always convey from one goal to the next. I believe it does. It's just what skill, right? What skill did you have to build in order to achieve the goal, right? And we talk about the basics like consistency, discipline, willingness, right? Open mindedness, because you have to be able to learn, else you'll already acquire the goal if you didn't have to learn. You have to learn along the way to whatever the goal is. And those are, to me, I know to be definite skills that you develop. Now, how it may, how consistency may look for working like at a job, how consistency may look different as far as like a relationship, what consistency looks like for your building your relationship, what consistency looks like for working out looks different for consistency with like uh keeping the car maintenance, like consistency can look differently, but the skill is the same. You have to be consistent, right? You might have to go a different way about it, but the skill conveys to the next. And once you know these skills, once you harness these skills about yourself and you carry that, man, you can succeed at anything. This is one of the ways that you can do whatever you put your mind to. There is no limitation, there is no impossibility, right? Because all of those are mental. Those are inward skills that you express outwardly. So yeah, I do believe that the skill always conveys to the next goal. You can accomplish any goal if you have certain principles, certain skill sets, right? The activity may just look different. The outward skill may look different. Just because you could build a house don't mean you could fix a car. Hmm. But you can learn. That's it for today, guys. That is it for today. I appreciate everybody being here. Man, much love. When I tell y'all that, I mean that. We learn in communication. You all who are here are already better, right? You're already improved in the communication realm to even want to improve on communication, to even want to improve yourself. For you showing up, you are already a step ahead, man. And we just gonna keep on improving. We always improving, man. And I love that about y'all. I appreciate y'all. I'm gonna keep on doing this. This is for y'all. This is for me as well. So I'm gonna keep on showing up, Much love to everybody out there. And I definitely want to continue to hear from y'all. TD, you my man. You're not the only one I want to hear from. Dark Engine, I see you in there, right? And more of y'all are there. We talk, and it's cool to talk. Go ahead, reach out. It'll be accepted. Okay. Until the next one, people. Much love.